Good morning, I'm Nick Altmeyer with linkinglewiscounty.com. We're here this morning with Lewis County Manager Ryan Piche. We're here for our monthly session where we sit down and talk a little bit about what's going to be coming up at the upcoming board meeting. So you guys have your final year-end session tomorrow. It's 10 a.m. in the morning here on the courthouse in Lowville on the second floor in the legislative chambers. So before we get into what's going on at the meeting tomorrow, there has been a few things that have been newsworthy here in Lewis County over the last week, so we just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about that.
Sure.
We'll start first with the positive. Last week, the governor announced the Regional Economic Development Council Awards, and the North Country region made out pretty well.
Yeah, I think as a region we got $63.5 million or something, which is good, but we weren't a quote-unquote top performer that got into the $80 million range as some of the other regions, but we're certainly happy anytime some state resources can flow into the county.
Okay, and basically for anyone that's unaware, and we did do an article about it, but while we had Ryan here, we just wanted to discuss it really quickly too. The state breaks down into 10 regional areas, with North Country being one of them. That includes Jefferson, Lewis, St. Lawrence, Franklin, Essex,
Clinton, Hamilton.
Okay. So out of that 60-some million that you were just mentioning, Lewis County ended up with just a little over $2 million for Lewis County projects. 8 projects received funding. So some of the projects that received the funding were the Central Lewis County Regional Water Study. Will get $297,000 for their study.
Yeah, that's a great project. That's going to be headed by our planning department, and it's basically all the townships that are in the central part of Lewis County are teaming up together to see how they can combine and share some of their water resources to create increased redundancy and make sure that we've got clean water sources for the future. So really good project and good thing that the state is stepping up and helping us with that. Okay.
So that includes the central municipalities, basically the townships excluding the village of Lowville.
Correct.
Okay. We also got the Lewis County Historical Society for the General Walter Martin Mansion. They're receiving $56,250 for some restoration on the mansion there. So another good project there. We got $350,000 is going to be going to the IDA for cleanup at the former Lyons Falls mill site.
Yeah, we've got, from what I understand, there's one more phase left at the Lyons mill site, and we need about $1.6 million to complete that final phase. It's a lot of asbestos cleanup and some of that environmental stuff. We have, with this $350,000, I think over $1 million, so it's really just looking for some funding for that last, $500,000 or so to try to close the gap and finish that project down in Lyons Falls.
Then we also got Lewis County Soil and Water Conservation District received $575,000 for a project at the Lewis County Fairgrounds, basically working on some wastewater, redeveloping some of their wastewater.
Stormwater rebuild.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. If you've ever been down to the Lewis County Fairgrounds when it rains, and I remember playing soccer down there when I was in high school, and it rains, the parking lots were a mess and everything gets flooded. They're in bad need of trying to solve their stormwater issue down there, and this is going to help. This money will help them put in some permeable pavement, put in some culverts and other such things that'll help get that stormwater out of the facility.
Actually, now that you mention it, I remember, I think it was the first 3 or 4 days of the fair this year that there was no parking over at the fairgrounds because of the wet weather, and they weren't allowed to, so they had to transport the people in from outside parking areas. So that might help solve that issue a little bit. The Long Pond Snowmobile Sled Club got $200,000 for a groomer. We also have Snow Ridge Ski Resort. I know a lot of people were happy about this project getting some funding. $44,000 for skating rink and tubing center.
So that project was ranked number 3 in the region. Obviously, our Regional Economic Development Council in the North Country really liked it. They liked the idea of Lewis County investing in, what we're good at, which is winter weather activity, outdoor activity. You'll see we got 2 snow groomers actually, different trail.
There's one here for Turn Ridge Riders too, for the same amount.
So 2 trail clubs are receiving groomers, and then Snow Ridge, they're receiving some money to help expand their operation with an ice rink and some tubing. So it's clear to me that the state sees our strength in outdoor winter activity, and they're willing to invest in those things.
Great. And then the last project here in Lewis County that funded was for the town of Lewis. There's salt storage project, and that got funding for $491,250. So altogether, about a little over $2 million for Lewis County projects.
Hey, we love to see it.
Great. Then the other thing that's come up over the last week is the announcement that Lionsdale, or Reenergy, is going to be shutting down their biomass plant in Lionsdale by the end of the year. I know there's been some new developments on that over the past few days, so didn't know if you wanted to address that at all and let the people know where things stand currently with that.
Sure. Well, essentially what's happened is, these type of biomass facilities are possible because the state is investing in new ideas and new renewable energy options to try to, change the market from these fossil fuels to renewable type situations. And when you do that, you're going to have risks. You're going to have some renewable energy that takes off and works and is very profitable out of the gate, and you're going to have some that takes a little bit longer to find its stride. In this case, the state, particularly the Public Service Commission, didn't feel that this type of technology being used down in Lionsdale was viable and wasn't going to be part of our green energy future in New York, and so they were not willing to extend that subsidy. I think our feeling here has been that these green energy investments are inherently risky, and we would have liked to have seen the state give it a little more time to develop and perfect that technology, see if they could do it maybe a little bit cheaper and become more profitable in the open market. So we're certainly disappointed that that's the decision that the state has made, but we're optimistic that maybe that site and all the infrastructure that we have with the logging and the chipping can be used towards another type of renewable fuel. So for now, some bad news, but we remain optimistic that maybe there is a future on that site.
Okay. And just so a lot of people know that there's probably 19-20 people are the number we're hearing of the actual employees for Reenergy. Yeah. But when you get up into the ancillary industries that it kind of helps out, you're looking at more around the 100 people range when you get into the logging industries, trucking industries, things like that. So it impacts more than just the employees that actually work there at the plant.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's the impact of manufacturing jobs. That's why they're so coveted, throughout the world, is because it's not just about the jobs that are on site, the manufacturing jobs. It's about all the ancillary positions that it takes to keep these larger facilities going. So, we're our one-stop for workforce development is going to be on site next week. Okay. At Reenergy, there are opportunities for those folks in Lewis County still, and we're hoping to help them transition into the next part of their career.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into our year-end meeting tomorrow. Sure. Finally, there's quite a bit on the docket for tomorrow. You got quite a pack of resolutions. That's right. And a lot of wrapping up year-end stuff, signing, reissuing contracts with agencies you're already dealing with and things like that. So I guess the first thing to bring up is we already mentioned, but the special year-end session is tomorrow, December 21st at 10 a.m. here at the courthouse in Lavaux, second floor of Legislative Chambers as usual. We'll be opening with a public hearing. Basically, this simple one, you're just rescinding the resolution or the law that allowed you to override the tax levy. Obviously, that wasn't necessary, so you can go ahead and take that law off the books now that the budget's passed and you don't need to.
Absolutely right, Nick.
Okay.
Yep.
So probably not going to be a lot of comments on that.
Unless people
I'm sure nobody's against it.
Unless people want us to go over the tax cap.
Right.
I don't think so.
So that's more of a formality than anything. So it's just on the schedule as a public hearing, and that's the only public hearing we have for tomorrow. So once we get going through some of the resolutions here, just one thing we wanted to point out, just because it's always good to see federal money coming in through grants and things like that. Yeah. And the Emergency Management Office is getting a grant for $7,000 to purchase some fire protection hoods. So
yep.
we just wanted to point that out, that was a good thing. And the reason it's in resolution form is that they need to get that into a line item in their budget. So that requires the legislators to approve that.
Great. That's a great acquisition by the emergency management team. Our guys, Bob McKenzie, they do so much to reach out to the volunteer firemen throughout the community. And this grant's basically going to give every fireman in Lewis County a second hood. So if you're running out and you're in a fire situation and you come back and your pager goes right off again, you don't have to put that same dirty hood on. You got a second one ready to go, and that's really important for our guys. So kudos to the emergency management team for going out and getting that done.
Great. We see some funding getting moved around. Basically, it's a good time to bring up that there's going to be 2 bridge projects upcoming next year.
Yeah.
One will be replacing the bridge over Jordan Falls Road, and one is on Blue Street in Glenfield. The funding that we're looking at here looks like it's just for some design work. It was picked up majority federal, $90,400 coming from the federal side, $22,600 from the state Marcelli funds. So that's just a line item for $113,000, putting it into the bridge fund so they can get the everything set up to replace that bridge in this summer, I believe.
Yeah, we'll get going as soon as the weather's good. 2 bridges this year. Our bridge crew really works hard and busts their butt all summer long. And we typically do 1 bridge, so next year doing 2 will be will be challenged. But we've got all the confidence that they can get it done. And we hear a lot about the bridge report, and there was a report by the state comptroller that you and I had talked about a few months ago, saying that the quality of the bridges. Really, for the most part, we do a pretty decent job in Lewis County, especially the high traffic bridges. Dave Becker and his crew down at the highway department do a nice job making sure that we're replacing things that need to be replaced. And again, it'll be another great year next year with 2 new bridges.
All right. Taking a look at Resolution 540-2017, there's been quite a bit of discussion about this in committee meetings lately, and this will be the resolution establishing a county policy on proposed pilot agreements. And basically, to sum it up in a nutshell, is the county wants language or is suggesting they would be more comfortable with language when the IDA is writing pilot agreements. They would prefer to see that there would be a clause in there that if you're under a pilot agreement, a company that's receiving the tax benefits, that no challenges to your assessment during the life of the pilot agreement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that makes perfect sense. I mean, if you're getting a payment in lieu of taxes deal, that's what a pilot is,
yep.
Payment in lieu of taxes, then there really shouldn't be a need for you to be taking us in the township and the school districts to court to challenge your assessment. So I think a common sense move by the legislature to urge the IDA to make that a policy moving forward.
Great. Okay, 541-2017 is a resolution that will authorize purchase of the Knox Premium Mobile Device Management Software licenses through the local Verizon dealer. Basically, this is going to provide remote security functions on county-issued cell phones.
Correct.
Basically, it gives you the ability, say with social services or a department like that has may have sensitive information on the phone. The phone gets lost, misplaced, and stolen. You guys can go ahead and turn the phone off without having to go through the process of contacting Verizon, waiting, taking more time.
Correct. Yep. We oftentimes have quite a bit of sensitive data on our work issued cell phones, especially if you're a caseworker working with maybe child services or public health employee that's doing some work out in the field. So just another layer of precaution that gives us the control.
Okay. 542-2017 is a resolution that's going to give $5,000 to the Martinsburg Historical Society for repairs to the first Lewis County Clerk's Office, which was built in 1847. This building's recently been added to both the state and national historic registries, and I think they need to do some upgrades. They have, I think it was like a $50,000 project that they were working on, so they were just looking to offset some funding to...
So this money is specifically for the roof project that they're doing. They've got to make some replacements on the roof. I think the thought behind this is that at one time was a county building, and as Nick mentioned, is now part of our historical landscape in Lewis County, and they need a little bit of help to preserve that piece of history. So the county was willing, or perhaps willing, we'll see, to step up and help them with that.
Okay. 546 and 547 are just resolutions renewing the agreements with Lewis Defenders as the county's public defender and McCluskey Law Firm as the conflict defender. Basically, Lewis County is a county that doesn't actually employ a public defender.
Correct.
So all this is outsourced. So we're just renewing the contracts with the agencies that ran the public defender's office last year.
Absolutely correct. Yep, they're typically on a year-to-year contract, and we're just renewing that contract for 2018.
Gotcha. 548 is an assessment challenge in the town of Denmark. The challenge was put forward by WGS Copenhagen Housing Associates LLC, and it's a 2016 assessment review. I guess the property is currently assessed at $3,297,000, and they're alleging it should be $90,000. The town of Denmark and Copenhagen Central School want the county to come on board as an intervener, which is commonplace in situations like these. I think the county has a policy that if a town, village, or local municipality gets a challenge on a tax assessment, that the county will step in because they're an interested party as well, so they will help out.
Well, of course. I mean, we don't do, your townships are the ones that handle your assessments in Lewis County. But just because the assessments are handled by the township doesn't mean that if assessment is challenged or reduced, it doesn't have an impact on county revenue too, because it does, and school districts as well. So whenever we have a challenge like that, we typically like to get involved and make sure we're at the table representing our interest as well.
Okay, so this resolution is just giving the county permission to step into this and help out the town of Denmark and the school district at Copenhagen. Yep. All right. Number 550 is a resolution that will authorize exemptions from taxation for certain property owned by towns and villages in Lewis County, used for the production and transmission of public water and sewer for Lewis County residents and businesses. So this come up a couple months ago. It got tabled. Basically, to sum this up in a nutshell as well, basically some municipalities have their infrastructure for water and things like that lie outside of their municipality. One good example, and it's not the only one, would be the village of Lowville. Their water filtration plant and most of their equipment is over in Crystaldale, in the town of Watson or New Bremen. So basically, this would be saying that currently they are paying county taxes on the land where the water pipes lie, coming back into the village all the way out to the property in Crystaldale. So this would basically say that, and I know that we've talked about with economic development, and we have talked about this particular resolution before. But basically what we're saying is if this passed, basically we wouldn't be taxing another municipality, is what it would sum up.
Yeah, and essentially, you know, when we levy a tax on a municipality's water system, we're really levying it on the water users. So, you know, that this would could in some ways be looked at as an economic development thing, an economic development policy. We have a lot of infrastructure in terms of water and sewer throughout Lewis County that isn't in great shape and is in pretty bad need of some investment. So if we're making it more difficult to run those systems that are already in difficult shape, the logic would be that alleviating that tax you know, would encourage them to make some investments, much needed investments into their infrastructure. That said, it'll be interesting to see what the board wants to do with it.
Good. 557, we got transferring some funds. This is just a line item transfer in the sheriff's office budget. Basically, what we wanted to point out about this resolution was that $86,980 for computer equipment that I think it's iPads. Special iPads, especially for law enforcement officers. that would be installed in the patrol vehicles and help out. So maybe you can
well, if their iPads are the most expensive iPads I've ever seen. They're more than iPads. They're essentially a heavy-duty tablet that if you've ever been in a police car or seen a police car.
I shouldn't agree like that.
You see that we've got those large laptops that take a lot of space, and they're kind of bulky, and they're hard to they're hard to type while you're driving and doing all the difficult things that our road deputies have to do. These tablets will replace that technology. They can it's portable. They can take it in. They can take it out. If it needs to be worked on by our IT department, they can just unhook it and bring it out. So it'll be just a technology upgrade, something that makes sense, and it's a good investment for us to make for our officers.
And just to clarify, the last time I was in a police car was for a ride-along.
Sure.
We also have, moving on here, where'd we leave off? Okay, we've got 568 is going to be a resolution that is transferring funds from the fund balance. This is basically something that was approved when we just approved the budget for 2018. These were line items that we're going to be taking out of the 2017 fund balance to kind of cover some 2018 expenses that just to stick the money in there to kind of make the budgeting process go a little bit easier.
Correct. When we talked about that back in our, when we talked about the budget a couple months ago, to alleviate some of the pressure on the 2018 budget, we removed some of the big one-time capital expense items, and asked the board to consider paying for them at the end of 2017, since we're going to have some excess revenue here at the end of this year. So, and
that'll basically be dropping $200,000 into the capital highway fund, $137,461 in capital equipment, $26,000 for election machines, and then the $5,000 we talked about for Martinsburg Historical Society. And the one we haven't gotten to yet is a $1,500 for the Town of Turin Library, which basically they just wanted to get some equipment upgrades, and the board will consider. I think they did it for a couple of the other libraries at the beginning of the year. Yes. So Turin's request was just trailing behind a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. We also have, we're getting to the end here. We have quite a, like we said, there's a lot going on in this packet. So
what did I tell you last month? Our two longest meetings of the year are always
your
last meeting and your first meeting of the year.
572 is a resolution that'll be levying taxes and assessments for annual town budgets and corrections to the tax rolls. So that's just general standard, basically giving the towns their assessment rates and letting them do their budgeting for the year.
We have to receive all the township budgets that come into the treasurer's office and the real property tax office. We make sure those assessments are correct when the bills go out.
Okay. And the payment to the Turin Library we already discussed. So the last thing on the agenda would be to set the organizational meeting for 2018, and that looks like well, maybe we shouldn't say it yet, but it's going to be proposed for Tuesday, January 2nd at 5 p.m., which would be a normal
that'd be our first Tuesday in January anyway, so that'd work out well.
And then at that time we'll be bringing on three new legislators to the
new legislators. We're excited to have those folks on board. We did a nice orientation yesterday with the 3 new legislators, brought them up and got them, got their tax paperwork done and got their emails all set up, and went through some of the county organizational charts and got them to meet some of the department heads. So it's an exciting time when you've got new elected officials coming on.
Great. Well, we do thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us this morning, and we wish you all the best for Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for the meeting.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Ryan.
Bye.